Hi, everybody who's tuning in. My name is Marilyn Biggers, and I had the opportunity to meet Fleur Byrne last week during a Kiki session. So I, like a bunch of you, I'm sure, have been watching her YouTube videos for a while, and I had a really great experience in the Kiki session with her. Um, she's a really compassionate and knowledgeable person, and she gives a lot to our community. And I learned a lot about myself during that session. So if you've been thinking about scheduling one with her or are a little shy and don't want to come onto her radio show, then I highly suggest doing that. First of all the proceeds go to her Fleur Byrne Sanctuary, which is really cool and it's really insightful. So yeah, if you haven't done that, I highly recommend it. And that's whenever the topic of essential oils came up. And I was really interested to learn more about how she uses essential oils in her life and why, because I use them in my life. And she knows a lot. Obviously, that's why we all watch her a lot. But I just I just wanted to ask her some questions about, why she uses them, uses them, and why she thinks that they're important. So, Fleur Byrne, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I'm here. I'm so grateful that you're having me on this platform. It was such a pleasure for us to have the session last week and for me to make your acquaintance. And it was I feel it was very profound for both of us. And, to find a common interest and something that we utilize that has changed our lives, that we use daily, and that many, if they've not come upon the knowledge of what essential oils are and how to utilize them in their daily lives, and how specific essential oils can make things that were maybe issues that they were dealing with, whether it was allergies, whether it was anxiety, whether it was dealing with, because it has very holistic and aromatherapy benefits to us. And I think if not for anything, this show and this platform that you've created will allow people to have a better understanding of the importance of essential oils.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they come straight from nature, and we're always talking about, wanting to increase our vibration or frequency. And I found that essential oils are a great way to do that, along with it's a way to avoid, there's a lot of stuff in our medicine and this is a great way to kind of counteract that and use this as a first measure, whether rather than going to like antibiotics first off or something.
Absolutely.
So how I first got into them was my daughter. I have a 1.5-year-old, and she was getting sick a lot. Her first year of life, she had 3 major illnesses, and so I knew like there was just something not right about the modern medical system. And I'm curious, how did you get into essential oils and start using them?
With myself, I began my journey with essential oils from as young as, now I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm into my 40s, but I began utilizing essential oils to my knowledge about 15, 16. I had gone to a university, and I had one professor who was quite holistic at the time and had discussed using eucalyptus as something to use in a diffuser in the home. And it would neutralize some of the effects of the chemtrails outside. And as you can imagine, I was quite fascinated by this. I'm thinking to myself, I knew, in the community, especially in New York City, I remember people selling on the streets, many of the vendors. I remember seeing the essential oils, not really knowing how to utilize them, not really having an understanding of what the practical purposes that would benefit myself. But when my professor stated that eucalyptus was something to neutralize the chemtrails in the sky, I thought, let me try this. And I remember asking my father to get me a basic neutralizer. I didn't know quite what that was. And at the time, it was just basically a candle and a little, a bit of a pottery that, like a ceramic pottery that actually the candle sat under to heat up the oil. And I poured the oil in, and it was so phenomenal. And I felt as soon as I began to burn the eucalyptus and the aroma kind of enveloped in the room, I felt my body change. I actually felt my allergies subside. I had allergies. I was allergic to dust and to cats and, basic, pathogens that were in the sky, living in New York City. There were quite a few environmental factors that you encounter daily with the smog, the chemtrails, as far as there's a lot of smoke in the air, a lot of bacteria that you're encountering, and it sort of neutralized that. It made my body subside. I found myself relaxing. I felt extremely comfortable and zen. I began to become in a zen state of mind. And then I said to myself, I couldn't believe something so simple, what seemed so, at the time, I saw it as something so insignificant, could change my whole biochemical field in such a quick amount, very, very small amount of time. And then I began to start to research the different types of essential oils. Now I was introduced to a new world of oils, and I knew that I could utilize this diffuser that my dad just got me, a very simple diffuser, and start to look at the practicalities of each one. So I remember going to vendors on the road and seeing things like a frankincense oil that many of the very spiritual community were utilizing, and it would help them to meditate and to increase spiritual awareness. That was one of the first oils I began to buy on my own, other than the eucalyptus. I remember having lavender oil, as a young lady on the street said, that helped to relax her when she was feeling stress and tension. And I began to use that, and I found that it calmed me down. And if I was having a level of stress or I felt disconcerted for whatever have you, I felt that it worked very easily, and my mindset could change and be a little more neutralized if I was having sort of any form of discomfort mentally. And, there was a host of other things. I was big into the holistic aspect of things. I used to make my own, still do, detergents, and I would use lemongrass added as a scent in my own detergent, and it kind of neutralized, it was a great antibacterial, antifungal, and the smell was phenomenal, and it made my laundry smell just as good as if anyone used Tide. And I remember many of my friends borrowing my homemade detergent because it smelled better than theirs, or just it made them feel better, and they knew it was natural. And I think that was the perk.
Yeah, it not only smells they not only smell good, but they also do a lot for your body. I use lemongrass too with my laundry instead of dryer sheets because those are really toxic. And
Yes.
so how I even at the natural health food stores, like some of the products I've looked up from there have those in them. And another resource that I use is the Environmental Working Group. They have a database called Skin Deep. It's ewg.org/skin deep. So how did you become aware of that, for instance, like Tide is bad?
Uh, I, I, because I was already intrigued, but and very, I was part of the vegan vegetarian community at the time, even in my early teens, my mid to late teens. I had an awareness that a lot of the types of chemicals that were being utilized in our home, aerosols that we spray as home fresheners. I remember my mother purchasing woolite to whiten up clothes, And every time she would utilize it, I would get a host of rashes on my skin and irritation. So that kind of gave me the idea that what we're utilizing, regardless if they say it's natural or not, had some level of toxicity that was affecting my body. And I wanted to find new and healthier ways of, and still washing my clothes and feeling fresh and clean and still having the same attributes as a regular, detergent, but having none of the side effects of the chemicals that were being added, whether it was to preserve the detergent or to enhance it in some way or to get rid of stains. There were very practical, healthier alternatives for a lot of these different detergents, aerosols. And once I started to get into like the orange blossom, essential oils and adding, especially with, baby, what was
Sorry, you
one
cut
oil
out.
that
Are you still there?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Especially one of my favorite things was to add a little bit of peppermint oil, to add to certain creams that I had that kind of calm my skin down if I had rashes. Or again, eucalyptus oil was phenomenal. Lemongrass oil was another great thing to add. Citronella oil was great if you were going out. I love to go camping. Citronella oil was phenomenal going out. Rather than spraying pesticides on you with seed, which had a host of carcinogens and chemicals, you could spray citronella oil on, dab a little bit of citronella oil on your palms of your, back of the palms of your hand and the back of your ears, and it gave you a sense of, like an insect repellent that was natural. It smelled phenomenal, and you felt confident that you weren't being toxified at the same time that you were protecting yourself from maybe the elements that were, adjutants.
Definitely, I agree. And that's really cool that you got into it on your own. I mean, like before you had your littles, because one of the reasons I got into it was because of my daughter, and
Yeah,
just having her increased my self-love. But essential oils,
absolutely.
I am confident in putting that on her. Like some of the mosquito sprays and sunscreens out there, I just don't feel like, when you do the research, you don't feel comfortable putting that on her body. And
No. Yeah.
yeah, so it was really
And you're also
interesting.
taught also by the holistic. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Oh,
about that. But I was also just an added
you
to
can go ahead.
just an additive to your statement is, with the little people,
I can't hear you again.
especially,
Sorry.
oh my gosh, am I coming in? Can you hear me now? Weird, I'm in the same spot. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. With the little ones, it's phenomenal that was your incentive to start to research healthier alternatives to utilizing, different types of essential oils to supplement things that were more toxic in creams and lotions and sunscreens and what have you. But what I found is a wonderful naturopathic teacher who inspired me is when they said, if you cannot eat it, it should not be on your skin, because your skin is the largest organ on your body. It's the largest, and it absorbs everything. As if you wouldn't put it in your mouth and consume it safely and confidently, then it should not be on the surface of your skin. And that was a profound statement. And to acknowledge that, it took a whole level, it upped your whole level of awareness, because you're thinking to yourself, how many lotions did we have that had parabens, that had all kinds of chemicals that you couldn't even pronounce? Reading
Yeah.
the label was like almost doing a science project, something that you didn't even have an awareness that you were putting compounds on your body that most people would consider to be toxins or likened to rat poisoning. And that was going on people's bodies daily in regular home store-bought lotions and sunscreen.
Yeah.
So the children will definitely, especially the little ones, they will allow you to, they show the world to you in a much more realistic way, because they're so pure and clean. And when they come out, they'll let you know, and whether it's rashes, whether it's, having a hard time being exposed to things, they are pretty much they show the perimeters of what we're exposed to in a more raw way. And it's unfortunate we have to learn sometimes through them being exposed to these things, but it's a wonderful thing to allow ourselves to learn and change and evolve and start to create things that are healthier for our babies and ourselves.
I completely agree. And that's why I wanted to interview, a big reason why I wanted to interview you today, in order to share this information with other people. I'm in your group, Flerber and Cypher, and I've noticed, a lot of people using modern medicines like Benadryl or something like that, just first off. And I think, like you were saying earlier, it's like really important for people, to know like how essential oils affect your body energetically compared to, common things with toxic chemicals in them that really just bring you back or even hinder you. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I use them for allergies like you mentioned too, and um it's phenomenal. Like they go in through your skin, and the molecules in essential oils are so tiny that they can permeate through the blood brain barrier. And that's another reason why it's really important to use pure and therapeutic grade essential oils.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The quality is very important. And, not all essential oils, it depends on, some people, there are essential oils that are called, well, if it's called essential oils, it usually has to be of a certain quantity and qualify to be, more what we consider to be pure. But I find that, depending on the types of essential oils we use, we end up going to vendors that we feel have more integrity. There's certain vendors that you end up, you can use a tea tree oil, because I add, for my little people, I add a little bit of tea tree oil. I add oregano oil and baking soda and water for mouthwash, my own homemade mouthwash. And I found that certain tea tree oils are much more integrity ridden than others. And you start to begin to learn about the different, have your particular vendors that you prefer. And you start to research, and you want to make sure that you're staying in alignment with those who are, balanced within, our ecosystem, meaning that they're upholding integrity in their practices as far as their company is concerned as well. Everything is relative.
Yes, definitely. It's really hard to trust a lot of companies these days. And with essential oils, I learned like the FDA only requires that for a bottle of essential oil to be labeled as pure or therapeutic, it only has to contain 5% of actual essential oil. So
Absolutely.
that's pretty,
Absolutely. It's
um,
it's pretty tragic.
it is. So anybody listening to this, just do your research about the different brands of essential oils. I use Young Living. So what brands do you use? Just local vendors, or do you order online?
Well, I used to order online, but whenever I go locally, I'm very, very cognizant to purchase things that I have that are essential oils in the local community. I love to support local farmers, local vendors that are part of the community. I just always feel vested in that. And one of the local ones here in Orlando, Florida, is Windermere, and they make a wonderful hyssop, which is a wonderful essential oil that I add to my lotion for circulation. I'm a woman of a certain age. And, I found as I was beginning to season, I don't call it aging, season, that my body was changing and altering. And I had to make sure that I was getting, that my circulatory system was working at a heightened state of, at a better capacity, as opposed to when I was in my 20s. So I found a wonderful essential oil by Windermere, and I tried it, and oh my goodness, I love the quality. And I found the company itself had a lot of integrity, and I utilized that one since I've been here in Orlando, Florida. And again, this is the local company, and I have a preference. Now, again, I do support our sister companies and brother companies that I know, again, do stand for maybe standing against deforestation, those, in the forefront of, keeping our planet eco-friendly, and supporting those companies that stand in alignment with the healthy homeostasis of our planet. And, I do my due diligence, and I think it's only right. And I make sure that with my little girls that are getting a little older, I show them and express how important it is to make sure that we align with those companies that have integrity, because it shows a lot about ourselves, and you want to support those that are in benefit to humanity in an overall sense.
Yes, I definitely agree. Um, I mean, I've used some essential oils that I've found at health food stores, even, drugstores before. And I mean, when I first started my journey, I guess that's what I was buying. And it was just because I was reading things online, like, this essential oil is good for this, like some kind of problem that I was having. And so I would try it,
Yeah.
but it didn't really have a significant effect on my body. And that's part of the reason why I use Young Living, is because when I tried those, they did have a significant effect on my body. And I am a really conscious person. So
Yeah.
if I didn't completely believe in this, I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it. And if I didn't believe in Young Living completely, then I wouldn't be saying that they're a good company. But they have farms all over the world. There's certain oils, like one called Valor, that I use because I have struggled a lot in my life with crippling like depression and anxiety. So I use that Valor one, and it was out of stock earlier this year,
Yeah.
because they test it on their own independently just to make sure that, because they set up these farms all over the world, but they tested themselves just to make sure, it's a process called seed to seal that they have, just to do the integrity of it. So the Valor essential oil failed 1 out of 8 of their tests, and they didn't put that out on the market for a
Wow.
while.
Wow.
Yeah. So that says a lot about them. I mean, it was hard to go without it. They did a replacement, replacing one of the ingredients that it failed on. But I really believe in Young Living. Like, I live in the Worth area, and I don't know of any places like the one that you mentioned locally. So that's what
Yeah.
and another thing is they have a foundation for that. They help children all over the world with that foundation. So I really
Oh,
believe in
wow.
it's amazing. So I really believe in the work that they do. And so if anybody listening to this wants to get started and they can't find a local vendor in their area, that sells essential oils that they trust, and they want to go with Young Living, you can message me and I'll talk to you more about the starter kit that I started with. And I mean, it has 11 oils in it, and you can just you can get them like on their own too, but I just thought this was a great base kit to get started. And what I wanted to do, since you so graciously agreed to doing this interview with me, is anybody who wants to get started with that kit from Young Living, I'm a distributor for them. And so I make a profit whenever somebody buys that. And I wanted to donate 60% of that to the Fleur Burn Sanctuary, of anybody who
Oh,
had this
that's
from.
wonderful.
I think that's really cool. And could you talk
Very
a little bit?
generous. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Could you talk a little bit more about like what the Fleur Burn Sanctuary is?
Yes. Living Sanctuary became a concept when it was, I would say, in my awakening process, meaning my spiritual awakening. That actually happened. I used to say it happened when I would say maybe prior 2000, 2001. But I found that I was having levels of awakening, just being aware of my environment, of what my duty was as a human on the planet, and how I should be proactive and live the life and be the change I want to see in the world. I I began to come out, I like to say, in the world and speak publicly on my platform, Florburn, on YouTube originally, and then eventually I created other platforms that I could express myself in all different matters, especially in the holistic home front. And when I began to see that a lot of us as women, as sisters, were coming together, fielding together. It was the first time I ever felt a sisterhood was in the last few years. I felt sisters coming from all walks of life, whether of a different age, a different color, a different religion, a different perspective, a different lifestyle. I found us becoming more vested in one another, more trusting. And I started to see that it was a necessity for me to, with the growing platform that I had I saw that it was a necessity to create a world, a place for families, for elders, for children, for those who are looking for coexistence in nature holistically, but also within the realm of sisterhood and family-based values. And I decided to look in a vision of creating a village, a placement in Brazil, preferably in Brazil. It might be in Brazil or Costa Rica, but Brazil looks like where our sanctuary will be set. And creating a village of like-minded sea stars and families and gentlemen who can collectively come together, growing our own food, living as we did, our ancestors really did, and collectively coming together as human beings on this planet, and living in a more 5D state of being, meaning we're living in a heightened state of consciousness with a level with integrity, being very conscientious of our environment, and also living with very basic and beautiful principles of brotherhood and sisterhood. And I decided to create an environment, and again, this Florburn Sanctuary will be located as a village, and this will be a holistic village that will host many, many families. And of course, elders and children are welcome. And to start a new placement in our evolved state of being that would be a safe haven for those seeking a more holistic point of existence. So Florburn Sanctuary was that was a concept. Now it's coming to fruition. I'm very grateful. There has been a plethora of donations, and including yours. I'm in awe and thankful and grateful that you decided to donate. And I think it's beautiful that we now are getting to the point where we see past all these idiosyncrasies that the outer world has kind of created to separate us, and we've decided as a people, as earthlings, as one being on this planet, to come together, and regardless of what we've been taught or conditioned with, we will push those things aside and begin to build up our own principles and values based on healthy living and cohesive existence on Mother Earth. So that was the concept. So I'm creating a village for that.
I think that is really beautiful and really powerful, and it's just the direction that the world is heading. I think we've had it with the way that things currently are, and we're starting to waken up, realize like we have the power to create whatever we want. And the way that you run your group and your channel is just, you're so inclusive, you have such compassion, and I just know that your sanctuary is going to be great, and it's just the future of where the world, like where we're creating the world to head. So I'm really happy to donate to that. So thank you.
Thank you.
For all that you do. It's amazing. And so much that you give us is free. So
that's okay.
We are all really appreciative of what you do for us, and I'm appreciative of you for coming on to do this interview to help educate people about the power of essential oils and
absolutely,
what's in our matrix today, and how we can find our way out of there. I think it's really powerful, and it's really awesome for us younger people also to listen to people like you who've been there, who've done that, who have for this stuff. So I'm really grateful for your insights also.
Oh, thank you so much. And, I'm very in awe of your creative, your creative vision to incorporate and share with others what has worked well with you. And I think it's beautiful. And you are what the world is becoming. And I love seeing a young sea star, a young sister doing this on her own and taking something that she's learned and valued and found to be something to share. And it's profound. This essential oils can change someone's life so profoundly. And people think that it's not that simple, but it really is quite that simple. But it's just following the principles of nature and knowing that Mother Earth has already created things for us holistically, and all we have to do is listen and utilize it. That's it.
That's it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sea Star. I wish you well. And of course, I'm going to promote the oils, and I think it's powerful. And I love that they're integrity written. And again, word of mouth is the best resource that we can utilize now. And what works for one is beautiful, and we can share that so that others can heal themselves and free themselves from some of the the toxicity of our environment in a more holistic way.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing, and I can't wait for tomorrow night, your show, and
Yes.
it was talk to you again.
It was awesome. Likewise. I wish you well. Infinite bliss.
You too. Have a great day.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.